Scott Holiday here, and welcome back to Plus 2 Wrestling. Happy to report that Chris Jericho held on to that ROH championship just like I said he should, and as a result we got a match with Ishii. Sounds pretty good to me. Enough bragging, let's plug in. December 4th, we are heading back to the State Theater in Havre de Grace, Maryland for Limelight 12, where the number one ranked Aaron Ash will be taking on the top guy, Griffin McCoy. And also in an 8-man tag, we have post-game Vinny Talata and Miami Mike Walker teaming up with The Rep to take on the most succulent tag team in all in CZW. I'm forced to announce them that way. Milk Chocolate teaming with CMD. And on top of that, the winner of this match will move on to the Tag Team Championship match and get to choose the stipulation. There's something else. Oh yeah, December 18th, this is happening.
その後を受けるように小島がその新たな挑戦者として名乗りを上げたわけです。
That's right, on December 18th, Kenta arrives and steps into the combat zone. The number one ranked Aaron Ash immediately threw out the challenge to Kenta, but so did Griffin McCoy, who will grapple with Kenta. Well, the only way to find out is to join us on December 18th at Studio Z. That's 110 Harmon Drive in Blackwood, New Jersey. Doors open at 5, the bell rings at 6. You're not gonna wanna miss this one. So this Sunday will mark the main roster debut of Wargames at Survivor Series. And I'm gonna straight up say it, I think Wargames might be the worst match in all of professional wrestling. And I'm not saying that I don't like Wargames. I actually like Wargames a lot. I think the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Jericho Appreciation Society was a fantastically constructed match. My first Wargames that I ever saw was the NWO versus the Four Horsemen, and I absolutely fell in love with the concept. And do you guys remember when Roderick Strong was a member of Authors of Pain? You can't take that away from me. It was phenomenal. But I believe that the issue with Wargames is it is one of the hardest matches to make work. There are so many issues with the structure of Wargames that it becomes very difficult to have a good Wargames. And if you don't know the rules, here are the rules. There are 2 teams, usually, of a bunch of people, and one enters every couple minutes. There's been so many different versions of Wargames that I don't know which version and which list of rules the WWE will be using, but it's usually somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes. Now, they will decide who will be the first member or the first team to get somebody in there, and they'll have an advantage throughout the entire match. This is usually done with a coin flip, which is stupid, or a match, which is better. This is being recorded before Monday Night Raw, so I don't know if they've done any of those things. But in any case, the issue starts there, because the heel team should win this 100% of the time. you should always have the heels going in there with a one-man advantage so the baby faces have sympathy. That causes this weird problem where if the heels have the advantage, it's predictable. But if you actually give the advantage to the faces, it's just wrong and it doesn't work. So it's an unwinnable situation. So you are going to have this match, if it's constructed correctly, where the heels constantly have the advantage and then the babyface comes in and saves the day. Like 4 times. Like there will be 4 hot tag spots throughout this match, usually, depending on how many people are in the match. There is also the problem, and I've seen them actually say this in the rules. Wargames doesn't actually begin until all competitors are in the ring. Then it's usually submission only, or submit only, or surrender only. Some versions of the Wargames match will have pinfalls. Again, I don't know what WWE is going to do. But the idea that you're going to have 25 minutes of match where you can't win, where the match hasn't actually started, it's just kind of jockeying for position, it's really difficult to create a sense of stakes and a sense of urgency and a sense of interest when the match can't end for almost half an hour. Like, imagine an Iron Man match where we will be battling for 60 minutes. We'll dance for 1 hour. But for the first 40 minutes, you can't score pinfalls. I would kind of want to fast forward to the last 20 minutes of that match if they're announcing that the first bit really doesn't matter. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter. There will be story beats, of course, happening within those moments. I'm saying it is harder to construct those story beats without near falls. There's no peril of losing the match. It's just peril of bodily harm. And of course, you can tell a great story about bodily harm, but there's already been a few Wargames matches. And it really feels like every Wargames does the same couple things. As a matter of fact, I made a bingo card. This is my Wargames bingo card. These are the things that happen in pretty much every Wargame. So let's see if we will get a bingo. We got the line in the sand spot. That's where all members of the team are in the ring, but they stand in different rings and they do this before running at each other. That's in there. Fighting through an injury, that person that's in there, but they're hurt. And they're not going to give up. And even though they're hurt, they're going to give their great effort. And they want to leave, but they can't, even though they're injured. The guy who's too scared to enter, he thought he would have the advantage, but they're waiting in there with steel chains and brass knuckles, so he doesn't want to go in. The way most of these end is the give up to save someone, where they're about to do something horrible to a teammate, and you gotta just give up the match to save their life. And then a little bit later on this bingo card, you'll see they do it anyway. Handcuffs, for some reason, are constantly in this match. The commentators yelling, "It's no DQ." They got to remind us of that. Someone attempting a pinfall too soon. Someone entering too soon. Someone being stopped from entering in some way, either not opening the door or locking them in a room or a cage before they can make it into the ring. Someone throwing in a bunch of weapons. The Tower of Doom spot. All those things happen in almost every Wargames match. And you know what? They're all good things. They're all very interesting. Maybe not the handcuffs, but everything else in there is interesting and inspires an emotion and a reaction from the crowd. The issue with the Wargames is it's a very difficult match to make work. But with these components and the right people, you can make it work. And the fact that it is a rarity, that we only see a Wargames match like once a year. If you did it more than once a year, it'd be a problem. Like, twice on the same show. So I just want to clarify here. This is not me saying that women should not have a War Games match. This is me saying they did a horrible job with the women's War Games match this year. And the fact that it's going to be on that show with the Bloodline Brawling Brutes match, it's in a position to fail. Like, first and foremost, what are these teams? Let's talk about Mia Yim. Mia Yim was brought into the company in storyline by the OC to have the OC's back and neutralize Rhea Ripley when dealing with the Judgment Day. And one of the first things Mia Yim did was sign herself up for a match none of them are in. Like, logistically, that doesn't make any sense at all. So let's change the format. You already had a great team of 3 in Damage Control. You had your Bayley, you have your Io Sky, and your Dakota Kai. You had the force that was going against Damage Control in Asuka, Bianca Belair, and Alexa Bliss. Why not do 3 teams of 3 for this match to mix it up a little bit so it's not a carbon copy of the men's version? I would suggest having the third team be Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, and a third member, and have them be like the cage fighty girls. Maybe throw in like a Sonya Deville. This would also be a good place for Nikki Cross to go and have her just be this crazy wild card that Ronda Rousey picked up. By fundamentally changing the format of the match, but still having it be recognized and clearly viewable to the audience as a War Games match, you create a different dynamic that gives the crowd some sort of variety, so they're not sitting through 2 half-hour periods where the match can't end. So that's my quick little rant on the War Games match. Again, I do really like War Games matches. I refereed one. It was at a little company called DWF Loco, and we couldn't afford to have 2 rings or a cage, so I zip-tied people to the top rope, and then when time allowed, I cut the zip ties. And come time for the match, we realized nobody had a watch, so I just counted in my head when time was up and then snipped it. Maybe this is why I have a feud against War Games matches. What do you think about War Games matches? Leave that in the comments down below. And now, to close us out, here's this week's holidays. Friday the 25th is Black Friday, but also Buy Nothing Day. The choice of which holiday you decide to celebrate is up to you. Then the next day is the 26th, which is Small Business Saturday, a day for shopping at your local businesses. Perhaps choose to support your local indie wrestling fed. Sunday, the 27th, is Pie in the Face Day, so be sure to buy a pie and smash it into someone else's face. Monday, the 28th, is French Toast Day. No pancakes, just French toast. November the 29th is Giving Tuesday, a day for giving to charity after all of the capitalism you took part in over the weekend. No jokes here, just a great little thing to do. Consider giving to a local charity. The 30th is National Personal Space Day, which I celebrate every day as I live here in this weird void that my editors created for me. And finally, Thursday is National Pie Day, so enjoy your December 1st by buying a pie and smashing it into your own face. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Plus 2 Wrestling. If you're having fun here talking about wrestling and holidays, consider subscribing so you can get a notification next time I put up one of these here videos. And thank you once again for dropping by, and I hope you have a great day.